I'm great. So, how are you, Paulo?
Oh, I'm doing great too. Thank you for asking.
Good. So, Paulo, tell me a little bit about yourself and your whole English language experience.
Oh, my experience in English not so long,
Not like all this, right?
but I live in São Paulo, the
Yeah.
city of São Paulo,
Yeah.
and it's the biggest city in Brazil.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Are you a YouTuber too?
Yes, I was a YouTuber. I
Yeah.
had a channel 6 years ago. Yeah, it was a comedy channel. I did some pranks in the streets
Yeah.
here in Brazil. But right now, I started a YouTube channel about English too. So I'm just trying to, sometimes I post some classes here on
Yeah.
Cambly,
Yeah.
and sometimes I give some advices for the students. Basically that.
Okay. Very cool. So I have something like that going on,
Mm,
but I just started. But yeah, we'll get into that. Let me tell you a little bit about myself.
mm.
I was actually born in São Paulo, Brazil, in the city.
Ah,
And
oh,
when I was 2 years old, my parents took me to the United States and I was raised there in South Florida. So I lived in uh in Broward County, which is near Miami, for 32 years, and just 8 months ago I came back to Brazil for the first time in my life and I stayed.
ah.
I'm here in São Paulo right now.
Awesome, man. Oh, that's really awesome. And
Yeah.
do you like São Paulo? Do you think it's a good place?
Yeah, yeah, I love it
Ah,
because of the people, right? Every place you go to has issues, of course, but the people are beautiful here. Like they're really warm and they're welcoming and they always make me feel at home wherever I go.
ah. Interesting. Because you were born here, so I think you have the Brazilian blood, right?
Blood. Yeah.
Blood. Yes, but Brazilian blood.
Yeah, definitely. So I speak Portuguese and I speak Spanish and I studied Japanese for a long time. My Japanese is probably horrible, but I speak some Japanese too.
Ah.
Yeah.
And a question for you, because I am also like languages too.
Yeah.
I can speak a little Spanish,
Really?
and I'm trying to learn Italian too. And
Okay.
a question for you: why you like to learn other languages?
Well, uh, I'm gonna be honest with you, okay? I don't.
Oh, come on! You
Uh,
don't, you don't.
I know. I think this is the first time I said that. Yeah, I don't.
Uh,
So when I was in the United States until I was about 3 years old, I spoke Portuguese and only heard Portuguese at home. But then I started going to daycare and pre-kindergarten and all the American
mhm.
schools. So English definitely became my strongest language. But by then I was
Mm.
already used to the Portuguese sound. So I guess I was sort of fluent like subconsciously. However kids learn, right?
Ah.
So um then growing up in South Florida, most of my friends were from Hispanic families. So I just learned Spanish with them. Like around being around their families and their families didn't speak any English. So I played music in a few bands and there was one band that was a Latin band and we only played Spanish music. I played some music in churches too, in some Spanish churches, and there was even a and of course just being around the Hispanic culture, I just learned Spanish like that through life's experience, like working
Mm.
construction. There, it got to a point where I was in a Spanish church and a Hispanic church, and sometimes Americans would come in, and I would simultaneously interpret for them between English and
Mm.
Spanish. So my Spanish got really good, way better than my Portuguese, and Japanese was a language I just started learning because my dad was learning. So I looked up to him, and he was really cool. Well, he is really cool. He's not dead. He's cool right now.
Yeah.
so, so, anyways, he had his own company, and he had a lot of free time back then. So he would just pick up hobbies like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna learn guitar this year, or another year. He say, oh, I want to learn how to dance salsa and merengue. And then one time he came to me and he said, "Hey Felipe, did I tell you that I'm in college learning Japanese?" And I said, in my head, I'm like, that's so random. Who does that, right?
Mhm.
So I said, Dad, teach me some Japanese that you're learning in class. And he started teaching me the pronunciation and the basic greetings and some characters every week. But unfortunately, like many other things, he quit after a few months, and I kept going. I just kept going.
Ah,
Yeah.
so
I didn't like the process though. I hated it. It was the worst thing ever. But I felt some kind of victory after I got to sort of an intermediate level, and I started having conversations with natives. Then that felt really
Mm,
good. That felt really good.
yeah, yeah. And this is really good because you was a kid when you speak English, Portuguese, and Spanish.
Yeah.
You you were a kid, right?
Yeah, like around teenager. I was like a teenager when I already knew how to speak uh all of those, yeah. My
Yeah.
Spanish wasn't super good. Like it took many adult experiences to really get my Spanish at a high level, like working construction all around only
Mm-hmm.
Hispanic people, or playing in the band, right? Those were all experiences that forced me to learn a lot quicker.
Awesome. But so I will change the question. Do
Yeah.
you feel that learning those languages are good? I don't know if one situation you thought, oh my God, thanks God because I can speak four languages.
You know what? Uh, they say that language is the highway in other people's culture, right? Language is
Yes.
like language is like the blood vessel, or the artery
Mm,
to a culture, right? So if you understand the language, you understand the culture, and that broadens your horizons. It makes your understanding of the world a lot wider, right?
yes.
So it's kind of, knowing one language is great, but you only know one way of thinking, sort of, right?
Mm,
So um, I think I've been exposed to these other cultures to a degree where I feel like I'm blessed with just
mhm.
it's just a little bit more wisdom, right? Apart from knowing the language, you understand the people a little more.
Yes, yes, that's right. And there is a country that you want to visit.
Um, yeah, maybe like Indonesia. Bali has some really cool temples and stuff in the middle of the forest that I want to go see. It looks really
Uh,
cool. Like some places that aren't touched by humanity so much. Like there's still nature that
mm,
involved, right? So I'm living in the biggest city in Brazil. I'm in São Paulo.
yeah.
So if I want to visit somewhere else, I don't want to go to a big city. I want to see, like, let's go live in a tent
Yes.
in the desert or something, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Is I don't want to see people. I just want
Right.
to isolate.
Yeah, let's see something
Yes,
different. Yeah, let's see something different.
yes, I agree. I agree with you.
Paulo, it was a pleasure talking to you, bro.
It was a pleasure. See you next time.
See you next time.